Conley would be.
Yes.
Right? A guy that never has been immersed in any controversy in his lifetime, going all the way back to his days at Ohio State.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you on the Monday edition, the Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, who I did encounter over the weekend there, as Lubie and I were both present at a charity banquet, courtesy of the lovely and talented Leslie Visser. I tell you who works hard in this town, and that is a lovely Fudge Brown.
Fudge Buster ass.
What does this girl not do? Fudge Brown, if you're not familiar, was a longtime employee of the Miami Dolphins. She might have been a victim of that whole Nick Saban.
I think she was.
Sardonic behavior or satanic behavior by Nick Saban. As I think she was one of the people that might have said hello to Nick and ended up losing her job, which was pure and unadulterated, not only a giant mistake. I mean, this is a woman who's extremely loyal and was just a diehard, and loyal employee of the Miami Dolphins for many, many years, but has since spread her wings and assists many people that were associated with the organization. And, of course, did a great job organizing this whole thing. It was Lauren's Kids was the occasion. I believe this was an event that used to be conducted by Eric Reed and Tony Fiorentino.
Yes.
Is that the story on that? And they're no longer, I guess, affiliated with the event or not staging the event, but the event has gone on. And Tony was there, by the way. I haven't seen Tony Fiorentino in years. I told him, I said, the last time I saw him, I believe we were leaving the Meadowlands after calling a UM Seton Hall game in the dead of winter. And we parted ways. Tony was still scouting for the Miami Heat at the time, so he was off to parts unknown to see if he could find some undiscovered, unearthed talent. And I was back home to Miami, and that had to be 30 years ago. Unbelievable. Looks good, man. All of these guys look great. Yeah. How about Larry Little, man? Larry Little was styling. You would have thought Larry Little could have been in a band there as they were, featuring a Motown theme, and he really looked the part. All of these guys, Dwight Stevenson is like 160 pounds.
Yes, he looks great.
And in perfect health. These were guys that were like 300-pound behemoths. Amazing. But anyway, we had a good time. It was interesting. Wow. Was that a bargain? That guy got 2 Taylor Swift tickets for $12,000, including a autographed guitar. Taylor Swift, officially autographed Taylor Swift guitar.
If he's smart, he sells the crap out of it. You can literally make $6 to $10,000. Look, on average tickets, you can make like $5-6 grand. Those are floor seats. Like you could probably make $10,000 a ticket, if not more.
Why didn't we buy him then, Lubie?
I have cash. I literally turned to my wife and was like, "Fuck, that's a really good, actually, investment opportunity." Like, it's going to sell. Especially if you're willing to be aggressive, you'll make more than you put into that, and you can turn it. The ROI on that would be ridiculous. And then the guitar, I think they have letter of authenticity. A Taylor Swift fucking signed guitar right now. I feel like
be worth a couple, at least a few dimes. No, 5, 6,
30 grand right there. That guy made is, even if he spent the 12 grand, I feel like he could get 3 to 1 on his 12 grand right now.
Wow,
which is fucking nuts.
So why weren't more people bidding on that thing, man? Conducting those live auctions is always a pain in the ass because nobody ever bids. It's amazing. They all sit on their hands.
Well, I give you Investor Mama credit because it's so funny because the event was cool. People were nice. For a ballroom, it was maybe the best food I've ever had. Like the food was actually good, which is
not
rare.
only that, but the sound system in there was fantastic. And this is just one of their like auxiliary ballrooms. There were a million parties going on. How much money are they raking in at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino?
They're killing it. But it was packed. People were cool, but it was the quietest crowd. Like you and Mr. Mama actually were. I was laughing and I felt bad because no one else was. It was like I've never seen a crowd like this. Like usually you're there and you're happy. People were so in their own world. Like
what a bunch of stiffs. Yeah, exactly.
Guys were crying. They even when like it was Lauren Book and Ron Book. I guess they put this together, and it's a really great charity. I mean, the cause is to help kids facing abuse or kids with issues, which is there's plenty of those. So
anything to help kids.
It's a great cause, and they've done a fantastic job. And even then, like they show these videos, these heart-wrenching videos, and oh my god! Yeah. And even then, like the claps would be.
No, I guess the food was good enough that people were so immersed in that. The good thing is when you're standing up there on a stage and they got the lights in your face, you can't see anything anyway. So
Yeah.
you don't notice that the people are completely irritated with everything that you're saying and doing. And I would have to say that the script was not exactly the kind of thing that you would hand to a Leslie Visser to go ahead and MC an event, because it was complete chaos and totally out of order. So you're looking, go, wait a minute. They already did all this shit. There's nothing for me to say. I'm standing here with a microphone. There's nothing to do. The band's gone. They're on a break. They're outside having a smoke.
That's the other thing, is they weren't having the band like hang around. That's the idea, is you go back and forth from band to you guys.
Yeah.
You guys be like, well, I think we're going back to the band.
Let's see, man.
Where the fuck are they?
Great band, by the way. Yeah, they were really on their game. But,
really good.
All right, it was a lot of fun, Lubie, no doubt
fun.
about it. And while that was happening, we were winning the Preakness with the back wheel of Mystic Dan. And this is just a lazy man's way of handicapping, where you don't feel like reading the form. Look at the board. This instinctively hits me in virtually every race that I approach, saying, my first instinct is to do what is called the back wheel of the favorite. Not always with everybody in the field. I think in the Preakness, with only 8 horses, you were talking about a $42 investment for a $1 trifecta, which came back $180 and change.
Nice.
And then the real payoff, a giant payoff in the exacta there. If you had Mystic Dan in the back wheel, the exacta for $2 paid $120. Nice. And that was without being all that far-fetched, although I heard not one single person ever at any time, even the people that were doing the post parade, didn't mention Seize the Gray when he came out on the track. Where the hell did this horse come from?
No.
Not one person mentioned this horse before the race. We talked to many people. I looked at all kinds of handicapping and scopes on this race as people were taking these keen, insightful views into what was going to happen. And the only thing I thought was that Mystic Dan was not a great horse going into the Kentucky Derby. There was nobody that was going, oh, my God, wait till you see this horse run. What a monster. They said that about Fierceness, who was up the track and out of the Preakness. Not sure if Fierceness has designs on running in the Belmont Stakes, but at 1.25 miles, maybe that is more conducive to Fierceness making a return there at Saratoga, a different surface. But I never heard anybody mention this horse. Now, the one thing I saw about Seize the Gray was somebody on Facebook that managed to get into my Facebook feed and said, hey, root for Seize the Gray today because I know my friend's father owns a piece of this horse or whatever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I thought, okay, great for you, man. When the horse runs last, your friend's father's going to be pretty depressed. But that worked out. And that was one of the few things that worked out, because we told you that we had a measure of clarity with the NBA, Lubie. You want to get into this?
I thought we did.
Yeah.
I thought we did.
How could Minnesota, after, how could Denver, after winning Game 5 against Minnesota and going up 3-2 in the series? Now, okay, you're saying they go back to Minnesota. Maybe they lose a close call in Game 6. They lose by 50. And then you're still convinced that when they go back to Denver, they're going to find a way to combat Minnesota's smothering defense. And if you look at this a little bit, they scored 90 points yesterday and 70 the game before. So they averaged 80 points in the last 2 games. This is the highest scoring Denver Nuggets in an era when the West is probably putting up 130 points a game. And congratulations. All you can do is acknowledge that Minnesota did a hell of a job waking up at the right time. And they're down 20 in the third quarter in this game. And you started to see it unravel. I was flipping back and forth between that and a very exciting and competitive conclusion to the PGA tournament, where you had Schauffele trying to hang on to his lead. He was doing a pretty good job of keeping everybody at bay with the jab there. Had 5 birdies. I don't think he bogeyed a hole. Yeah, he did. He had a bogey. So I guess he had 6 birdies. He shoots 5 under. Good enough to stave off the run by Bryson DeChambeau, who I can't believe it. You, Lubie, were telling me earlier this morning that the professor had money on DeChambeau at like 35-1.
Yeah, I think he had a lot of money on Denver because he was bitching about refs. And I didn't watch. Once it got out of hand, like I didn't watch that much because it was frustrating the crap. Oh, no, I watched most of it until the end. And I don't remember the refs, me factoring the refs in. I just remember Denver looking lost. Like they dominated for 2.25 quarters. And in the last 1.75 quarter, they had dumb turnovers. They were taking bad shots. They were lazy on defense. Like I didn't really factor it. Look, and I'm the first one to bitch about the refs. But when he's like, well, at home they had 10 less free throws. I'm like, oh, he had a shitload of money on Denver. I'm like, because no one watched that game going Denver. Like the NBA is not rooting on Minnesota. Like, yeah, Denver's not fucking New York or Boston or LA, but Denver's like a top 10 market. Denver has the best player in the league. The guy who's won multiple MVPs. They're the defending champions. By this year, they're well known throughout NBA and even the Lay fan. Like Denver's the team you want there versus Boston because it's like Clash of the Titans type shit. They're not rooting on a young fucking Minnesota. Like I'm the first guy to bitch about the refs, but maybe the refs sucked, but it wasn't like a conspiracy. Like the NBA is not like, oh my God, Anthony Edwards has been so exciting. We have to get him in. No one knows who the fuck Anthony Edwards is. Like
no, and plus he was 6 for 24 in this game, even though he had some key baskets, though, at the moment of truth.
Like, I mean,
is it okay to justify the 18 bricks that he threw up there? They were conscientiously, objecting to anything that Edwards was going to do to destroy them in that game. Did a pretty good job defensively on Edwards. Well, Denver up 20 in the third quarter. I mean, there's no way that you look at that and go, okay, this is an easy path for Minnesota and something not too insurmountable of an obstacle for them.
Well, and then I had forgotten about the PGA, and then this morning I looked at the PGA, and I know DeChambeau and our buddy the professor had a few people that were hanging around. I didn't realize that Rose finished top 6.
Yes.
Morikawa finished top 4. And then DeChambeau, who had the best odds, literally was a stroke out. So I'm like, oh, now I know what the text was. He was really fucking frustrated because DeChambeau he was going to make a shitload of money on. And I think he was going to make a shitload of money on Denver. And I think both let him down.
Imagine that. You got like even 100 at 33-1 with Bryson DeChambeau. Well, DeChambeau was out on the practice range. It was kind of interesting because he finished up. He's 20 under. And he's on the practice range trying to stay loose. And they had a giant screen right in front of him. So he had as good a view as anybody as Schauffele approached his final putt there, which was about a 5-footer. No guarantee that was going in. And it actually rimmed around the cup and went in. Looked like it was going to veer off to the left there and just miss, be one of those little kick-out jobs. And you're thinking, all right, Schauffele was in pretty good position there. But the last thing on earth you wanted to do is go to sudden death. And I believe they play sudden death in the PGA, right? Don't they have a few weird configurations? There's one where they play like 4 extra holes. Is that the British Open?
I don't know.
And they get a aggregate score from 4 holes instead of just the 1-hole sudden death thing. So I mean, he still would have been in there. I mean, you could say with a 50-50 chance, although after and you couldn't possibly imply that Schauffele was joking because he was 5 under for the day, one of the better rounds of the day. It's just that DeChambeau was 6 under. Yeah, and then Rose and a couple of other guys where Hovland was on fire yesterday, so he was right there until the bitter end. Very exciting conclusion with some unbelievably low scores that these golfers were shooting. To see that big of a pack all jammed in there, round 20 under. Was pretty amazing, but good tournament. I mean, I would imagine that was a very popular victory with everybody but the professor. I had trouble embracing the Live Tour guys. I just, is it better to be, they always talk about it, rested, or does that induce rust? Because these guys don't play nearly as much as the PGA guys now. They have only 14 events, 3 rounds apiece. So you're talking about 42 competitive rounds of golf a year. Do they do anything, these Live Tour guys? I guess they're in a couple of these events that are not Live Tour driven, like the PGA and the majors, but not everybody on the Live Tour gets into these events. And so, I mean, you have a bunch of guys that clearly were starved for competitive golf.
Yep.
And they made a very good account of themselves for the most part. Although John Rahm, what happened to him, man? He got the $300 million. That's weighing him down.
I didn't even see his name. He
didn't make the cut.
Oh, Jesus.
And I tell you who looked really bad, what was Tiger Woods. Not because of his play. He just looked bad in general. Doesn't he look like a shot fighter? He had that Chuck Wepner look, didn't he? He was getting off the stool for round 15 in Cleveland against Muhammad Ali.
I didn't see him at all. I told you Friday, like the only bet I would think at all is him to or not make the cut, and I would go all in on him not making the cut.
Well, you're in good shape there.
And Thursday he wasn't great, but he was hovering around the cut line. And then Friday he sucked. So that was an easy bet to me.
How great was that? By the time they got to Friday on the 3rd hole, you were already in the bag there. Tiger was triple bogeying like 2 holes out of 3. But his face, it looked old and puffy, didn't it? I mean, you would have thought that was Archie Moore with a golf bag, not the old mongoose, not Tiger Woods. He looked nothing like the overwhelming presence that he was in terms of projecting nothing but confidence and winning attitude back in the day. Now, sure, Father Time's going to erode a lot of different things, but it was almost a sad look, wasn't it? Like you were thinking, "Come on, Tiger." As much as the public enjoys seeing you play, and it's exciting to have your name in the tournament, and it's good to see that you're giving it a shot. Maybe it is time, Lubie. Dare I say it? To hang it up. At least Andy Murray is going out there and winning some matches while he's playing. I don't know if he intends to play much more. I didn't see him in any of the recent tournaments, which, by the way, my girl Sabalenka went down to Swiatek, as Leslie kept reminding me is the correct pronunciation. The Swiatek girl, Iga from Poland, too diverse in her game and was able to handle the immense power of the lovely Arena Sabalenka, the Belarusian babe who gave it a hell of a shot there. And of course, a wild story with the what happenings here in Miami when she had, I guess, recently broken up with this guy. He was a former Russian hockey player. I think he had a cup of coffee with the Pittsburgh Penguins in the NHL, and he was coaching hockey in Russia. And the guy jumps out of a window, apparently. Did we ever get to the bottom of that story?
No, we talked about it, but I still don't know accident / like I don't. We never.
Everybody deemed it a suicide, which Sabalenka was able to shake that off. She still played her remaining matches in the Miami Open, although she's been looking to bounce into the winner's circle again, and came very close. But that was exciting at the Italian Open. You got the French Open coming up in, I guess, 1 week, and then on the men's side, what was it at the French Open? Was it a year ago that Zverev broke his ankle? And had to be wheeled off the court while he was making a run. I think that was at the French last year. Is that possible? That was a year ago, or only a year ago, or was it 2 years back? But anyway, he bounced all the way back, and he won the Italian Open, Alexander Zverev. So congratulations to him. The men's matchup wasn't as flashy as I think the Italian people would have wanted it to be. But nonetheless, he went against this guy, Jerry, the Chilean. There was a chance 2 Chilean players were going to be in the final, but Zverev, after losing the first set, went on to win that match in the semis. So congratulations, certainly in order there. So a lot of stuff going on there. There was some boxing, too, over the weekend. Usyk beat your man Tyson Fury.
Yeah, what the fuck? My buddy's like, wow, I've never seen Fury do that. I'm like, Fury do what? I'm like, there was a fight? I'm like, what the fuck?
Fury's had kind of a strange bunch of bouts and episodes. Which he was a weird guy anyway, the Gypsy King. He was a little bit out there, although we found him to be extremely engaging and intelligent when we had our one-on-one interview with Tyson Fury. It was a telephone interview while he was training for the second Wilder fight, and we've mentioned it many times because it was one of the few times a guy ever actually engaged in outlining his strategy and the rationale behind changing trainers. And he told us what he was going to do, and he did exactly that. But since that time, I mean, he was in there against Nagano, the MMA guy, and they gave him what a lot of people thought was a bogus split decision in what was a sanctioned boxing match. And then he's had all this back and forth with Usyk, who's about 5'6", going against a 6'7" Tyson Fury. And it was a strange and odd matchup, and yet Usyk got a split decision in that, after knocking Fury down in the 9th round. It was a big weekend for, in the last week or so, for Ukrainian boxers. Because ESPN had a top-ranked fight on Saturday night with this Mexican champion who's received all kinds of acclaim. Everybody thinks he's great. Named Navarrete, lost to a Ukrainian fighter who was of no particular distinction. Guy, he was undefeated, but he was clearly in there for a payday for the champion, and he ended up getting the win. Usyk wins a unified heavyweight championship, and we just had Lomachenko in a big matchup. Beat ferocious Kambosos. So 3 Ukrainian champions crowned in the span of a week. How about that, Louie? 3 Ukrainian boxing champions. There you go. There's your tidbit for the day. We mentioned some things regarding baseball. Finally, the Marlins get back in the loss column. Jesus Christ, they were starting to threaten our what I thought was the safest money we've ever invested, and that is Marlins in the under. They're shutting people out day after day after day. And did that snap a 4-game or a 3-game winning streak by the Marlins? this
Wow,
loss
I didn't
yesterday
know.
to the
I didn't
Mets.
know that they were playing that well. Good for you. I had no idea.
Oh God, it's sickening to watch. I mean, it really is to see them winning games and rebounding like this and winning one-run games again. But yeah, a long haul in the season. But I still think that we're in pretty good shape there for the under 79. No matter, eventually they had to win some games, didn't they, Lumi? Or could we have just counted on them getting
They
buried
were going
every
to
single
win
day?
games. You expect them to win like 9 for the year. They're going to win games. They're going to win
Yeah.
around 60. They're just not going to get anywhere near 79.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, I think we're still in pretty good shape with that one. And yeah, Yu Darvish ends up setting a record for consecutive scoreless innings by a Japanese pitcher. Is that enough of a distinction to mention? Consecutive scoreless innings by a Japanese
Yeah,
pitcher.
that's a big deal. Especially for a guy that I didn't know was still in the goddamn league.
Yu Darvish, 37 years old. He's having
I
an
know he's still
amazing
fucking
season
pitching.
for the San Diego Padres. He's got like a 2.08 earned run average, and really been super effective. Hasn't given up a run since April, I think.
Jesus.
Which we're only in the middle of May, but 25 straight scoreless innings. And the only guy to go scoreless of Japanese descent, more lengthy equation than that, was Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, who managed to lose like every Panther to this guy Boyer to the tune. How do you lose $16 million, Lubie? And then on top of that, you're stealing the money out of another guy's bank account and showing no signs of stress whatsoever. These Japanese, man, they can really pull off shit that nobody can imagine. How do you not show some kind of a sign that things are unraveling when you're in the hole $16 million to a bookmaker and you're stealing the money out of another guy's bank account? And he's just there every day going, he says he really enjoys being a Dodger and that this is the highlight of his life. Are you sure that's what he said? Meanwhile, all the time he's probably screaming, "Where the fuck is my money, you piece of shit?" I know it's you, Matsuhara.
He's not even paying attention. But yeah, he said he had a tough day. He's like on his phone.
Yeah, he said, you know what, that curveball in the second inning, he thought it was out of the strike zone, but they rang him up, so he struck out. But he apologized to the umpire for questioning his dignity and his integrity.
The guy's not even paying attention. He's like texting his bookie. He's like, no,
He's like, no, I'll have the money. Don't worry about it. I got his account number right here. I'm just going to fax it to you. All right, and we had the Panthers. They got home against the Bruins. That was good over the weekend, Friday night. A lot of excitement there. Looked like they were probably going to go to a Game 7. That would have been a dicey proposition. Same thing was true of the Rangers in Carolina. Rangers were dead in the water. Carolina up 3-1 in the third period. You rarely see this kind of collapse in the postseason. Chris Kreider, former Boston College guy, goes out there and scores a couple of goals, and then not the easiest of empty netters that he was able to put in to finally ice the contest, and the Rangers end up winning that. So it's Rangers-Panthers, Lubie. Could you ask for anything more?
No, sir. I'm ready for it, and hopefully the Panthers are, because it could be very interesting.
Well, a good series. I mean, Rangers had a great season under Lavalette, and nice comeback there in staving off the possibility and the frailty of being in a Game 7 there against Carolina, who would have won 3 in a row against them. So really good job. President's Trophy winners never make it to the third round. The Rangers did it. And sure enough, Rangers-Panthers are going to be dynamite. Doesn't start till Wednesday. Mm-hmm. But that comes under the heading of the Bart Scott idea, and that is can't wait. Can't wait. And, of course, we're still happy about the back wheel of Mystic Dan, my friend. Thank God for that. Otherwise, we're dead wrong about everything. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz. A lot of fun being with you. Thanks so much for joining in. And we'll be back in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:31. Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup, All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Oh, we're showing it back here at the Defo show. There's Mike Lubie. It's Lubie with all kinds of things to attend to. Go ahead and roll that thing in, Lube. Yeah, great. All right, welcome back to the show here. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie.
Sorry.
I just noticed this. The Dolphins are plus 175 to win the division. The Bills are favored slightly at plus 165, 155. Doesn't it seem like a good price? How did the Dolphins not win the division? Are they really still lagging behind the Buffalo Bills?
No. People are doing a weird thing with the Dolphins, and I think it's funny. They're propping up the Jets. The Bills lost a lot, and I get it. I like Keon Coleman. Believe me, I'm an FSU fan, and I wanted to see him in a Dolphin jersey, but he doesn't replace all that they lost, and he's going to be a rookie. So it's not necessarily that a rookie's going to come in and just be a number one receiver in the NFL from day one. Yeah, they lost a lot. On the defensive side of the ball, they lost a ton. The offensive line, they lost a lot. The offensive side, they lost the number one receiver, one of the best receivers in football. Josh Allen reverted last year back to being Josh Allen, and people are forgetting that. And they're just sort of, because the Dolphins fucked around at the end of the year and they didn't close out the division. That's what people remember. They don't remember that the Dolphins led the division the entire fucking year. The Dolphins actually, for all that they lost, actually replaced most of it with younger, better talent this offseason, for as much as I can't stand Chris Greer. And it's another year for Tua in the system. And they then added more speed, and the Dolphins are the best team in that division. And I don't know if the Bills are decently close, but the Dolphins, to me, have taken another step ahead of the Bills. The people are just weird about Tua, and they're all in on Josh Allen, even though Josh Allen led the fucking league in turnovers again last year.
Yeah. It would seem on paper that the Dolphins, if they don't win the division this year, really have, as they say in the I Love Lucy episode, some splaining to do.
Yeah.
Oh, anything can happen, obviously, as we know. I mean, you don't need a genius to make this deduction that injuries and things of that nature are going to be a big factor. Luck, of course, gets involved. But you would have to think that in a 4-team race, you're getting nearly 2-1 when you can probably – can you discount the Jets in this divisional race? The Jets really think that they have a shot, and they're plus 240 with Aaron Rodgers.
I want to see Aaron Rodgers behind whatever line they put out there with him as coach, because a lot of the shine that he got, Salam or whatever the fuck his name is, it sort of fell away last year. Yeah, I get it. Wilson was their quarterback and Rodgers got hurt, but he was the one that wasn't trying to get anyone else at quarterback. He was the one that liked Zach Wilson. He was the one that said their defense would be enough, and their defense down the stretch wasn't enough. Their defense actually down the stretch looked pretty mediocre. And that was their calling card. They didn't do anything.
So you would have to say it was a little bit of attrition because the offense was so feeble.
No, yeah, look,
they were doing nothing. I mean, the 3-and-outs were an enormous ratio, and the defense had every reason. And if you were looking at it, you thought, wow, if they wear down, it's certainly no disgrace.
They're not a bad defense. They're still a talented, good young defense, but they're not the fucking 85 Bears. Like, people were making it seem like even with Zach Wilson, they could find a way to get 10 wins. And I was like, no, that's not what's going to happen. They have holes in that defense, and you saw it. And the offense is a disaster. Look, Aaron Rodgers will be better than whatever they had, obviously, but the dude's 40, coming off the worst injury of his career. Like, he's not going to magically be Aaron Rodgers. And whatever they've done with the offensive line, it's still not going to go from being horrendous to great. Like, I don't know. I'm very curious what the Jets are. I love that everyone jumps on the Jets bandwagon and throws the Dolphins down the fucking drain. I hope it stays that way.
what would appear to be the most solid choice, though. So the fact that they're second choice and you're getting what is that, like 8-5 or something, plus 175, not quite 2-1. But not a bad price there if you were inclined to make that sort of wager. I don't have the patience for that kind of thing. The only place that we ever use that is in the over-under on the baseball season involving the Marlins. And that's been pretty exciting because that number's usually been right around the breaking point, and it's boiled down to the final week of the season in most cases. So we got a lot of mileage out of that particular bet. The Panthers are minus 142. You have to lay 140 to win 100.
Okay.
In the series overall against the Rangers. So surprisingly favored against the New York Rangers because the Rangers would have home ice advantage, which what we've seen is not as influential a factor in the Stanley Cup chase as it would be perhaps in basketball, although we're seeing bizarre results in basketball too. Knicks hosting a Game 7, they fall apart, they lose by almost 30 points, right? 23 points or something like that.
Crazy.
The final margin, and Indiana was in control virtually the entire contest.
Yep.
Once Brunson went out, you had to throw in the towel on the Knicks' chances. But what we've seen it happen before, where teams actually do better when compromised and having to rely almost exclusively on scrubs, especially against the point spread. We saw that in any number of spots during the postseason so far. And yet you would think, so you're getting a price then if you bet the Rangers in the series. People are on that same bandwagon. Now, Andy points out that you may as well put the Dolphins down as the fourth place finisher because of the way that we've been burying people with our selections and the level of clarity that we're claiming to have really results in, we may as well be looking into an opaque screen and crystal ball. When we had the Knicks getting buried in Game 5 and they come around and win by 30-something against the Pacers and then subsequently lose the next two. And there was no way. You could not have convinced me that Denver was going to lose that series to Minnesota after they won 3-2. There was no way. No chance.
No way. Look, and I get it. They lost by even after losing by 45. I was like, yeah, whatever. I was like, they'll win Game 7 easily. And they were up by 20 with like 10 minutes.
Up by 20 in the third quarter. Get out of here. It wasn't even that interesting. I mean, the PGA tournament was offering far more excitement. Than the Denver game was, and they were on while the Knicks were playing. The Denver game was later on at night, but it wasn't even that interesting. I mean, it was time to turn on CNN and see if there was any more information on the Trump hush money trial. Any speculation? What do you think there, Louis? Did they do enough to indicate that Trump falsified these business records in an effort to influence the 2016 election? Now, we know that he did it, but did they prove it? Did they tie him to the case, or is this just a futile effort here? And then Trump wins and starts beating his chest and saying, you see, it was all a waste of taxpayer money.
I think both are true. I think they proved their case, and also he'll win in the end because for some reason he always fucking wins.
Yeah.
He's not even good at being a criminal, but he's the one criminal that always gets away.
Couldn't be any more obvious, right, that he was involved in it.
Yeah, he's bad at it. He's horrible at being a criminal, but for some reason he's literally Teflon. I don't know why, but he is.
Gotti wasn't as safe from prosecution.
They got him. They got Gotti by this point in Gotti's life. They had gotten Gotti. Like comes in his fucking late 70s. He's been a criminal for 60 fucking years since he was a teenager. He's been a criminal. And he's bad at it. He gets caught every time. You would think he would stop, but he never gets punished. So it's like, fuck it, why stop if they're not going to punish me?
Stiffs all the attorneys that they know they're not getting paid. Whatever it is that he sends them at the beginning, that's going to be it. They'll never collect another dime. Lost out on
every good attorney because he's such a fucking criminal that he brings down the attorney. The attorney client privilege doesn't even protect them. He's so bad at being a criminal that all the good attorneys are like, fuck you, Don. I'm not going near you. And he gets these shitty attorneys, so he should lose even more. But somehow there's always, like Andy just said, there's always one person that's going to go, oh, I believe it. He didn't do it. It's a witch hunt. The 25 different allegations are all a witch hunt.
His signature on a dozen checks in $35,000 denominations that he had made arrangements and is on the phone indicating, hey, here's the way we're going to do it. Not enough to get this guy convicted. I really believe he's going to win the election again, Lubie. I've already resigned myself to that.
I don't know how, because I've never, even the people that like Trump are making a face at it. It's like, I don't put anything. DeSantis won in a landslide, and everyone hates DeSantis. Like his own party is like, "What the fuck's wrong with you, you stupid ass? How are you fucking up insurance this bad? How are you fucking up the abortion thing this bad. Like,
well, because he's nuts. That's why.
But he won in a landslide like a year ago.
Yeah.
And he was horrible then. So
Yes.
like, I don't put anything past, in our day and age, people know someone. Look at the protests going on. How the fuck is Israel committing genocide when there are a bunch of Jews? It's literally the country of the people that have been genocided against like 20 times in history.
Yes.
How are they committing? Like, that doesn't even make logical sense, but that's just where we are. Like, liberals are agreeing with far right people on how bad Jews are. Like, that's the world we live in today. So what the fuck? Of course Trump can win while he's standing trial. He's standing trial right now.
Yes. I mean, all of his press conferences are behind a metal gate. While and how much money are we spending on these motorcades to drive this, potential criminal back and forth to court every day? I mean, really, I understand. I guess all former presidents end up being allocated this level of security, but nonetheless, I mean, when you watch 20 cars pull out to drive this one schmuck in the court, if he had any integrity at all, enough integrity to run the country, he would say, "Yeah, I did it, man. I paid this woman off." I mean, the story was going to be particularly unflattering, and I didn't give a shit about my wife, Melania, finding out. I just didn't want people to turn against me a couple of weeks before the election. That's
exactly.
You know what? You would respect that. It would be like Pete Rose looking into a camera years ago, even while he was standing with Jim Gray and going, "Hey, listen, Jim, fuck you. I bet baseball. You know that." I just can't talk about it like that right now because I'm trying to get myself back in the game. But maybe this will help. You know what? You're right. Maybe telling the truth will help ease the burden that I'm facing in trying to clear and get my name associated back into the game again. Yeah, I mean, if he did that, would you have more respect for him? I guess, because this whole fantasy that he knew nothing about it, never met the woman, certainly is a little bit far-fetched. But I believe he'll end up being acquitted in this thing.
He will.
And that will only be a springboard. All of these, it's so funny to see these so-called swing states, and you're thinking of what significance really is the opinion of the people in Wisconsin. Is it that much more weighted in terms of importance than people in California and New York, where they outnumber these guys by like millions and millions of people? But yet those are the few states that end up swinging the election because of this schmuck system we have with the Electoral College. Well, when is that going to go away, Lubie? If Trump wins again after losing the popular election, you think they finally look into that? No, because he'll have all of his people in place.
Well, and he's going to turn being a president to being a king. So
who's doing these polls, though, that show him winning in virtually every spot?
I don't know. I thought Biden, as recent as a week ago, Biden was killing every poll, but I guess every swing state is leaning Trump for some reason. I don't know. The swing states are the ones that are all in debt because Republicans lead them. Yeah. Like that, for all the shit they talk about New York and California and taxes and this and that, they're the ones that make the money. They're the ones that every other state goes to survive. The Republican states are a disaster. Like, economically, they're a literal disaster. And yet those states somehow still lean Republican. Like, they don't, looking at reality is something they don't want to do. So I'm baffled by all of it. I just sit shaking my head. The guy openly is saying, while he's on trial, by the way, for something he definitely did, and there's evidence acknowledging.
I don't see how you don't look at the situation and say, well, geez, this happened and Trump was, more than, deeply involved in it.
Well, just look, what people focus on, and yes, the economy should matter and inflation should matter. And
well, what do you think it is, though? I mean, do the stock markets, that used to be a chest pounding development for Trump when he was in office. Oh, look at the Dow Jones. It's never been higher. I mean, it's like at a record level.
For everyone,
Andy, have you heard Andy complaining about the market lately? Not a word.
No, the market is as strong as it's ever been.
A lot better than the betting market when we're burying people with our clairvoyance that the Nuggets would easily prevail in their Minnesota series, and that somehow the officials would fuck the Pacers and the Knicks would end up being the Eastern Conference finalist along with Boston.
I mean, they tried. There was a lot of weird fouls in that fucking game, but the Pacers were just too strong. Look, I don't know. We live in a fucking weird world where people don't want to look at reality. Biden's old. He's saying, "Oh, fine, everything's good though." I know inflation is higher than we want, and day-to-day lives for some people is tough. But when you take back and go from micro to macro, all the big numbers are great. It's good indeed. Like, the economy is fucking robust. Wall Street's great. The housing market's leveling. Inflation is leveling. He got the infrastructure bill was fucking impossible to get passed. He got it passed. He said no to the Israeli money, but now he's working on getting Israel money. So he's literally covering both sides on that insane topic that you can't please anyone. Like Biden's actually done a hell of a job. The problem is he's old, he's senile, and Trump is loud. And look, the guy literally yesterday in a speech stopped talking for 30 seconds because the teleprompter went out and he talked for himself. That was Trump. That wasn't Biden. Biden has yet to do anything like that. Like Biden's actually going on Howard Stern. He's going on late night shows. He's doing commencement speeches at a fucking black college. Like all the things Trump wouldn't dare to do because you have to be on your game for. Biden is kicking ass at all of these things. But because he's not as loud and insane as Trump, people go, oh, he's old and senile. Really?
He's being denounced routinely in that category, Lubie. You're right about that. Well, we'll see. I guess they agree to a couple of debates, but it is interesting to me to think that they put this whole trial on, and I'm looking at it for the most part. Whatever you think of Michael Cohen, obviously he was more than willing to be a scumbag.
Yeah, for sure.
As he was doing these things for Trump. But whether or not he had some epiphany and has found God or whatever, I don't know that I'm buying that necessarily, because clearly the guy has been more than happy to profit on his anti-Trump stance now. He's become a commentator on a lot of, you see him all the time, or he did on CNN, and I would imagine MSNBC. And it was kind of fun if you're an anti-Trump guy to see this guy just openly denouncing a guy who he clearly had knowledge of all of his activities and would have every reason going back a year ago or whatever, a couple of years ago to, say everything in support of him, which he did. But, wow, what a screw job. How about that? Trump leaving his right-hand man in the slammer while all these other scumbags he pardoned.
That's what he's done that's the funny thing is it's either he really knows nothing and just
Manafort, Stone, all of these guys.
Criminals, which why is that good? Or the reality is they're criminals because of him, because he literally needs them to be criminals to try and save his own ass. And the fact that he always leaves all of them in the lurch. Like, so they all get left behind. Like, none of that hurts him. Like, it's so fucking weird. It
is amazing that America has embraced this particular person. It's like I tell my friends all the time. Look, you can have these viewpoints or whatever, but anybody but him to be to be in charge of things, because he is so unscrupulous and so pathetic that that the last thing you want is to see this guy in office again for 4 more years. But apparently a lot of people don't agree with us, Lubie.
Don't care.
I think we're barking into an empty hallway, my friend.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I mean, it scares me that this is actually going to happen, but it is remarkable the change in the American consciousness. That's for sure. All right. So what do you think, Libby? You're faithful. You're very hopeful, and you're thinking that the Panthers probably prevail over the Rangers.
I think that's
minus 142. The Boston Celtics would appear. I don't know. Do they have all the advantages on the Indiana Pacers, or can the Pacers give them any kind of a series? Does it go 6? Does it go 7?
No,
does it go 5? Is that what you're?
I'm thinking 5. Look, the Pacers actually have a lot of scoring, and I like the talent on that team, but they're so young, and you see it from game to game. Whatever the Celtics are, yes, the Celtics have thrown 2 games in the like both series combined. They've thrown a couple games, but then every other game they've been there, and until they play a real. Now, I guess the T-Wolves would be that team. I thought the Nuggets would kick their ass. I don't think that's the Pacers. Look, the Pacers can score, and their defense has gotten a little bit better than it was in the regular season. So I think they'll hang around, and I think they'll take a game. I don't know if they'll get more than that. I mean, they're just young, and the Celtics have been there a lot, and they get contributions from random guys that I still don't think belong in the NBA every single fucking night. And that's the thing you don't see the Pacers getting. And Nembhard and Neesmith have played well, but they're not a night in, night out guys. The Celtics guys are, whether it's Pritchard or Hauser or fucking White, one of those guys that is not a star helps them out every freaking night. And the T-Wolves have that. The Pacers don't. Like, I don't see the Pacers getting more than a game. And now, again, we've been massively wrong, so they'll probably win at least 2. But it's looking at the
I mean, they look to be capable. If they shoot 67% from the field like they did against the Knicks yesterday, certainly they're going to beat some, at least be competitive there with the Boston Celtics. You wouldn't think that that's going to happen again. T-Wolves and the Mavericks, an interesting series, no? You have the 2 bigs there for the T-Wolves. You keep forgetting they have like 2 7-footers in the paint.
Well, and then Naz Reid's like 6'9", 6'10". He plays like a big.
And Naz Reid has been great, by the way, in the series. Finch seems to be a very capable up-and-coming coach. I don't know if he's up-and-coming, but seems to have a pretty good handle on his team there and a great approach, even with the knee injury where he's sitting down. The other guys are running up and down the court having to do his arguing and his yelling at the refs for him. That was impressive, though, to come back against the Nuggets after losing 3 straight. I would have to say, they looked like they did in the first couple of games. In the last 2, that lapse that they had in between, what was a little bit startling, and you thought, well, here we go again, the upstart team incapable of getting over the bigger humps and hurdles on their way to being competitive and establishing themselves as championship material. But pretty good redemption by the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I would think that they prevail over the Dallas Mavericks, Mr. Chalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the home court advantage also against Dallas. It's Dallas's backcourt, not necessarily against the front court. I think Anthony Edwards, you'll unlikely to see him go 6 for 24 again in a ball game.
No. I mean,
no matter what they do defensively against him.
Well, that's the thing with him is, though, the reason the Nuggets look good again was Jamal Murray, right? The whole series was really about Jamal Murray. I guess he's hurt, supposedly. So if he's able to overcome his injury, Nuggets win big. If he's not able to overcome his injury, Nuggets lose. Well, Murray played well the first half, and then they put Anthony Edwards on him, and Anthony Edwards locked him the fuck down. So that's what's interesting about Edwards is he's one of those like old school dudes in the sense that he should be there offensively, but even if he's not, he's going to put an imprint on the game because he's going to defend the crap out of you. And you can't say that about Luka and Kyrie. Like Kyrie, that's the problem with Kyrie is his passing's great, but if he has 9 fucking points, then the Mavs are in trouble, and he does nothing on the defensive end. He's average at best on defense. So that's why I would lean massively in the T-Wolves' favor in that series. I never know with those two guys. Luka and Kyrie can go off so much that you saw the Thunder were the better team. The Thunder were vastly the better team. The Thunder are home. So it's just those two guys can will a series. The rest of that team is to me. Whereas the T-Wolves have shown you they have a lot of guys and they play really well as a team.
Write it down, I guess. I'm going to go Celtics in 5, T-Wolves in 6.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And then I'm going to hope for the stunner that the Timberwolves go on and take it all. Although it was kind of weird to see Alex Rodriguez all of a sudden show up courtside. Was he not there for the rest of the series?
He's been there.
He has? Yeah,
they've been showing him.
Nice suit, Aaron. Must say, the guy dresses well. I mean, there's no doubt about that. He definitely made a solid and very winning-looking appearance there. But as we said, the fascination with Alex Rodriguez as a commentator seems to be largely misguided, as the next interesting thing he says will be the first interesting thing that he says in any of these broadcasts. And, I would think NBA basically being a chalk league, I mean, when you look at it, the Denver Nuggets getting knocked out had to be a big surprise to a lot of people, especially us, because you would have thought, up 20, third quarter, no chance, and the Timberwolves move on. So it could be Timberwolves, Indiana. That would be great. I mean, that's where they finally just give money back to all of their sponsors.
It would lose their mind.
You imagine the Celtics don't prevail somehow in this series, and at least Dallas has like somewhat of a spark there. They could wheel out Jerry Jones to do some of the commentary or something. But Indiana versus Minnesota, a Midwest disaster if it turns out to be the finals in the NBA. And Game 7 tonight, your Canucks. What do you think? I think they played in 9 playoff games so far, and all of them have been decided by 1 goal. Is that possible?
Jesus, really? Oh, God.
Oh, no, they got spanked in the last game by the Edmonton Oilers. They lost 5-1. Yeah,
that's not better. The only game there's a big difference was the game they lost.
Exactly. Yeah, no, they got absolutely creamed. Do they do it? What do you think, Lubie? Do you hang on? I mean, that's a tough one. You got Portnoy's money riding on the Edmonton Oilers there. He's got that $150,000. People have been getting a vicarious thrill through following that to win $1.2 million. If they win the whole thing, they got to win the Stanley Cup. For that to happen, you would have to think, are we seeing better play out of the Eastern teams, Rangers and Panthers, than we are out of any of the Western teams? Very difficult to gauge because it's seemingly like a very different style of play, is it not?
The East 2 teams are the best 2 teams left in the whole
better
thing.
Goaltending, I think, coming from both of those teams. Shesterkin for the Rangers and the Bob.
Yes.
Who do you give the edge to in that matchup?
It's so funny because Bob annoys me with the stupid goals he gives up, but he's been more consistent. Like, I know the Rangers were dominant for the first 7 games, but then that stretch where they allowed like 3 goals in a fucking like period.
Yes.
Bob hasn't done that. Yeah, the first game they gave up a ton
Shesterkin's been really good, though. The Rangers.
Oh, he's legit. I mean, both guys are really good. I think Bob is playing a little bit better, but again, Bob can always go into the tank. We've seen that from him, and
we've seen him implode, no doubt. Looked like he needed to go see an eye doctor after the game. No, he's not having his jaw checked. He's having his eyes. His vision seems to have gone blurry. All right, a lot of fun being with you. Peel yourself off to Mount Monday. It was a great weekend of sports. You couldn't ask for much more excitement, and I think we have more on tap. Congratulations to Seize the Gray and the connections there in the Preakness. Never mentioned one time by any handicapper.
Not once. No,
I really do think that they even skipped over the horse in the post parade on NBC. They just went straight to the next horse, straight to the 7 there. Unbelievable. Thanks to, who is it? Anthony Brown weighing in on boxing. I dig that. Very nice.
My buddy Seymour. He's a big New York fan, so I'm sure he's going to be very involved in this Rangers-Panthers series.
It really is going to be something to just waste with anticipation.
I think it's going to be a war. I think it goes 7, and I guess I would lean Panthers slightly just because I like their scoring capabilities more than the Rangers. The Rangers are more of a rough, gritty team. The Panthers are just really talented, and I think they are overall the more talented team. But again, in hockey, that doesn't mean anything. So that's why I lean Panthers, but I think it's going to be a fucking war. I think it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out war, and we'll see. We'll see who survives in the end.
Could be a lot of fun. I'm glad we have that to follow, Lubie, because that's going to more than fill the air with conversation over the next couple of weeks, at least here on the Defo Show. All right, thanks so much for being with us, everybody. It was a lot of fun being with you on this Monday. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest, and we'll see you again tomorrow here with the next edition of the Defo Show. As we leave you know that
the time
it is 8:59.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my